Hey, you guys. Today I want to talk about hitting rock bottom and being in crisis. Because I know that a lot of people are going through crisis right now. And I want to share something because I've been in crisis myself many times in my life. And I've guided many people through crisis in my work. So I want to give you some insights on what's on the other side after the crisis. So when you're in it right now, this can be a useful video to watch. One of the times I was hitting rock bottom was when I was a young mother and I was working at the hospital. I just finished my med school and I had a really nice job. I enjoyed it very much. But I was also going through a very rough divorce, going in and out of court, being in a lot of fights with my ex. And at that time, I finished medical school. That was rough. I worked a lot. You have to do your rotations and clinical hours. And on top of that, you need to do your end exams and your end thesis. And on top of that, I was writing all these reports for my lawyer, for the court, and I was taking care of my son, who was back then 1.5 years old, I think, or maybe 2. So this was a very rough time. I don't even know how I got through that. But when you're in a tough time, when you need to survive, you're able to. And crisis or burnout often comes after. So when you get a breather, then the emotions hit you, and then the full heaviness or load of what happened to you is hitting you. So when I got into my residency, or I don't know what you call it exactly in America, but when I then started to work as a doctor, I was in the heart surgery department, cardiothoracic surgery, and that was amazing. I loved the department, very nice people, and I started working part-time. So one day a week I was off to be a day with my son. And after studying so hard and being in and out of court and writing reports all night, and only having me time, that was the sleep I got in the night, which were not many hours. Changing from that to having a stable job that did have shifts, but no more writing thesis, no more studying, no more, and then having one day off just for me and my son. That was amazing. So at that time, I started focusing on enjoying our time together and doing nice things on those days. But after a while, after a couple of months, the court situation wasn't resolved yet, and I think around New Year's Eve, I got a couple of blows. I got really harsh messages from some family members being really rude and mean to me, and I got a huge blow, nasty attack from my ex. And I remember actually going into work at New Year's Eve because I felt safe in the ward, and my son was with his dad, so I was alone and didn't feel like partying. And I went actually into the hospital to tell. I knew what colleague was working, and I felt really safe with her too. And I just needed some consolidation and a kind heart to listen to me or just give me a hug, because the shit was coming down. It was really heavy. So I went there, And I told her I'm not okay. I'm not in a good place. And I told her what was going on, and she supported me, but also sent me home. And at home I cried, and next day I got to the police station because somebody, how do you say that, filed a report against me. And when I got to the police station, the police officers, they apologized to me because they said, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, this is really, yeah, you don't need to explain anything. We're totally understanding your situation, and you didn't do anything wrong. So that was all good. But, to be alone, no support, family really being mean, and then having to go through that around holidays, it's tough. And but what you do is you go on and you get on with your day, especially when you have kids, and you take care of your kid, and you go to work until I couldn't anymore. I was so beat. I was so tired. I was so devastated for many things that had happened to me, and that I didn't heal yet, or wasn't able to heal because it happened not too long before. So at some point, I remember, I think it was in February, I called in sick. And I actually told them I had the flu because I was so ashamed of feeling so burned out and so devastated and so low in energy and my emotions. I was really sad and was really overwhelmed with everything. So I kind of knew I had a burnout. That's what they call it these days. But I was too ashamed to admit that. So I called in sick and said I had a flu. So I stayed at home for a week. And then, of course, you cannot be too long sick on the flu, right? So I came back to work, and then it kind of hit me. I thought I have to tell them what's going on. So I told them about my court situations and the pressure I've been under, and this with every, because now I'm counseling a lot of people with burnout, and everybody who's right in front of crisis, who is in front of admitting I'm not okay, they're feeling this huge heavy wall, and how on earth am I going to tell my boss that I'm this vulnerable, that I'm this, well, low, and this much in need of help, and most of all that I cannot work, right? I cannot execute the thing that they're paying me for. So I felt that pressure, and I felt it for a long time, but I also knew there was no chance in getting away with it because I could not work. But then I told two of the surgeons, and they completely understood, and they were so kind and gentle to me, and so heartwarmingly supportive, that it was an incredible relief off my shoulders. And I remember going home, and then I just started sleeping for I think 2 weeks straight. And luckily I had a boyfriend at the time to take care of my son together with my family. So that was all taken care of, because I really needed to recover from the heavy times I was going through, or had been going through. And what's really important when you're in a crisis situation, and it really doesn't matter whether it's a burnout situation, whether it's a breakup, whether it's divorce, whether it's illness or loss, the most important thing is that you accept where you are at, that you acknowledge and accept the fact that you're in this situation, and that you don't judge yourself for it. I could have judged myself for having a burnout, and it would have gotten me nowhere. And I did, of course. I judged myself because I felt ashamed. I felt inadequate. I felt useless. Who am I when I'm not working? Who am I when I'm not producing some written piece of information for court or anything else? Who am I when I'm only lying in bed and sleeping, right? Who am I when I cannot do the basic things? But once I got to the point of just telling at work how I was doing, and I got this huge supportive response, really so supportive, that really shifted my perspective on and my acceptance. And as this huge relief was really going through my body, I felt so, okay, I'm okay now. I can accept now that I'm here, and now I need to heal. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're going through a breakup or a big change in your life, something unexpected, whether it's an illness or anything, there's always need for healing. And healing does not happen when you're not accepting your situation. In other words, when you're pushing your reality away, when you're turning your head away from it, you can never heal. Because you're in resistance. You're using all your energy to be in resistance with yourself. And with all the patients and people I've guided back into healthy, stable life after burnout, for example, it always made a difference. Like how fast they recovered always depended on as a big factor on whether they were accepting their situation. So the people that were really restless, impatient, and put pressure on themselves, like I needed to be back yesterday at work, or have really high expectations on their recovery and like I need to be back so soon, they would have take a longer time to recover, and they would have more relapses. So so that they dip again. And it makes sense because when you're worn out, when you're burned out, when you're overloaded, then you need rest and not to have any pressure on you, because you need to figure out again what your impulse is to do something. So instead, right, we're living this life where so much is expected of us, and we're constantly being active, we're constantly doing, we're constantly thinking, we're constantly producing and taking care. And in this way, we're never really taking time out to relax, and we don't know even anymore how that works, how we can relax. Sorry, I have Twitch here. So when we end up in a burnout or in a other situation where we cannot work anymore, where we cannot be so productive anymore, all of a sudden we're hit by this wall, like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Who am I? What am I worth if I'm not able to work, right? There was another point I wanted to make, but I forgot it now. It will come back to me. Usually I do lives, so then I'm reminded or the people help me. But never mind that. So, yeah, acceptance is really important. Acceptance of where you are at, because only then the healing can truly start. And healing means surrendering into being with what is. Now, this may sound very vague and very abstract. Surrendering into being with what is means feeling everything you have to feel, not suppressing it, because then you end up in a depression and you push your situation away and your emotions away, but really letting it out. So cry when you need to cry, be angry when you're angry, and maybe stamp on the floor or hit your pillow instead of attacking other people when you're angry. But still, allow yourself your emotions. Allow your healing in this way that you can cry for relief, cry for consolidation, cry for your own warm embrace towards yourself, that you missed out on something, that you didn't get it, or you didn't choose it, and you may grieve for that. You may grieve for being human and not being perfect, or over expecting things of yourself, over asking yourself, not thinking you're good enough, right? You may grieve for that you needed that. And now you are reaping what you sowed, and that's a tough bill to pay, right? Now, at some point, you're going to have enough energy again after the sleeping and after the crying. And again, this recovery is, I think, for any crisis the same. There is sleeping involved, there is emotions involved. And at some point, you get to a level where you have enough clarity and enough baseline to start having a look at your life, where you're at, and what you don't like and what you want to change. And this is what I call becoming aware of being inadequate at certain things. For example, putting up your boundaries, or knowing what your needs are. And this feels very uncomfortable, and often it feels for people like they're relapsing, or that they're taking a step back, whereas they're actually just getting aware of the truth, and that hurts. And that it hurts is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it feels horrible, but the hurt, the pain is so useful to us, because it will for sure motivate us to change our ways, to change our life, to find the motivation and the energy and the necessity to change our behavior patterns that are so rooted in our system. And we need this pain, and then after the anger, the energy to change it. If it wouldn't hurt, you would never want to change it, because it's just easy to keep doing the same thing. We would not be in crisis situations if we were better at assessing our shortcomings early and take care of that, and becoming conscious of it, and learning that sooner rather than later. If we're able to do that, we can prevent a lot of crisis, because then we don't need the necessity to teach us a lesson. Then we're on top of our needs, on top of our boundaries, and then we take action on those, make the right choices, and often we don't end up in crisis. Having that said, naturally, there's also crisis in life, like accidents, deaths, and losses that can be so sudden. Yeah, you cannot blame yourself or make different choices often for that, because those things are bound to happen, because that's life. But what you can influence is the way you, for example, are connecting with somebody. Let's say you've lost somebody and that was sudden, and maybe you blame yourself for not treating that person better, or not stepping over your shadow and reaching out, stuff like that. So there's always choices you can make to be a more honest, connecting human being, right? So, healing. So we had acceptance, and then there's healing. And then there's this new perspective, this uncomfortable awareness of this is not going well for me in my life. I'm making, or I made wrong choices, or I feel I'm doing everything wrong maybe, or I'm in the wrong place. And this is really important to know. this is okay. It's okay to be in this uncomfortable place where you don't know where you're going, where you don't know what to do, but you do know that you want everything different. And you do know how you screwed up. This is the most important step towards change. You need to know what went wrong and what you want to change and how it got there in order to change it. For example, if you're in financial debt, you need to look at the balance. You need to know what the situation is before you can make a plan. And then you need to have the guts and courage to deal with it every day. So you need to really look yourself into the eye and see like, okay, I'm a human being, I have my shortcomings, and I'm not looking away from those anymore. Instead, I'm going to have compassion towards myself, forgive myself that I let it come this far or that I made the wrong choice there. But now I'm going to learn, I'm going to get help, and I'm going to take action to slowly but surely change my ways. And in this way, you create a better life for yourself. And in this way, you become more influential and powerful over your life as well. Because when you take responsibility, when you're when you're able to respond to any situation at hand, it doesn't mean you need to fix it or solve it immediately, but responding with ownership, accountability, and the knowingness that you're allowed to learn and recover and take the time to take the steps necessary to get to where you want and need to be. Do not beat yourself up when you're in this stage. Yes, it's okay to feel the hurt, but if you're being over judgmental towards yourself and beating yourself up, you're not going to get anywhere because you're not accepting where you're at. Instead, you're beating yourself up. And talking yourself down will never get you in the right direction because it actually will make you feel like you can't do it, you can't change it. And this is just a mechanism inside us that just kind of wants things to stay the same. Whereas you know you have the pain and you have the necessity to change. So become aware. Become aware of the voices in your head that are saying, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm a lousy person for doing this, blah, blah, blah. Become aware of that voice, and then remember, it's not you who's saying that. It's not. It's just your programming in your mind, something you picked up in your childhood, in your conditioning around you, or something that you taught yourself to survive, and it's not helping you anymore. It's not working. It's time to not listen to that voice, and you can even just think that, like, shut up, and then go here, go towards your heart, because your heart knows what to do, and your gut as well. Mostly, for men it's the heart, for women it's the gut. It's this instinct, like, what is it that I need to do? And then, yeah, you're going to be scared, taking new steps, different choices. You're going to step out of your comfort zone. But if you take on this path, if you really go there and you ask for help and you get help, coaching, therapy, I don't know, it can be all sorts of things, counseling, financial support, friends, somebody who cooks your dinner, anything. Help can be so many different things. And as long as you can be open to that and you take responsibility for your own lessons, and then you start practicing and changing your ways and behavior patterns, then for sure you're going to change your reality. Because different behavior elicits a different response. That's just how it is. And then healing always goes on and goes also towards deeper layers, and it was the same for me. The years after my burnout, I dove deeper and deeper into my healing. I did more and more deep inner work, liberating myself from my belief systems, from my pain, from my wounds, from my conditioning. And this is an ongoing process. I'm still in it, and I will be in it until I die. And I kind of, I kind of like it because there's always progress to be made. There's always possibilities. And this is something I really want you to know. When you're in rock bottom right now, the only way is up. It really is. You're becoming excruciatingly aware of where you're at and what you don't want. And that gives you everything you need in order to propel yourself forward into the life that you do want. And give you the motivation to take every step along the way and take the responsibility you need to take to get there. And at some point in your healing and in your recovery and in your journey, you will get to a point where things get easier. That doesn't mean that there's no hardships in life and that you always have every answer. I don't. But it gets easier to handle the situations, to handle the pitfalls, to handle the unexpected, because you know your own patterns, you know your own pitfalls, and as you heal them, they become way less intrusive and way less heavy, way less shocking. So you become more and more stable. And with that, you also become more and more powerful to create life and show up for yourself in a way that's dignified, as well as for your family, naturally. So, yeah, when you're in a crisis situation, when you've hit rock bottom, it's very, very important to remember this. The only way is up. Get help, ask for help, and ask for it repeatedly. Know that you can carry your pain, no matter how hard you cry, no matter if you're lying on the floor. If you let your pain out, if you scream and cry and really let it out, peace will come. Because pain can only last that long. Peace will come. And then there will come a clarity that will give you a new insight, or maybe somebody gives you a new insight, or maybe you read something, or maybe you watch a video on YouTube and it gives you something that you find, this is something's triggered. There's some inspiration, there's some spark elicited. And follow that and let it lead you into the next spark. And let it pave the way of the steps you need to take for your healing and for your lesson learning. And in this way, you can find the courage and the support and the sustainability to keep going and really turn your world around, because I know you can do it. I was able to do it. I was a single mom, no income, still studying, bad court situation. I was living off my mom, who brought me groceries. Without that, I wouldn't have made it, and of welfare of the government. And my friends, they retreated because I was in this heavy court situation. I was pretty much on my own, but I made it through, and I've learned so much from that time. And I've also learned, maybe the most important thing I've learned, is that I can carry so much. But most of all, I can carry myself. I can carry my own pain. I can carry my own emotions. And I can break through it. And I've learned that I don't need to carry anything that's not mine. I know I've done that for a long time in my life. But I've learned by hitting rock bottom, for example, through my burnout, I've learned that it's not my task to carry the burdens or the lessons or the heavy weights of anybody else. I only need to take responsibility for my own. my own emotions, my own well-being, my own happiness. And I got a lot of help on the way to shift shift the two apart, and that is very helpful. And it got me into a life that is much, much more loving, much more healthy, much more happy, much more anything. It's absolutely possible for you as well. So when you had a rough time, or when you're in it right now, when you're in any of the stages that I just mentioned, please be extremely gentle towards yourself. Please let go of the judgment. You're doing everything you can. You're in the right place, the right time, the right spot. Because this is what you need to learn, and you will get out of it again for sure. And take the pain and use it. Use it to motivate you to change your behavior patterns. Okay. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And please remember, always ask for help. Give somebody a ring. Send out a message. If you're in a tough place, ask for help. You don't need to do it alone, even when you think you do. I know that one very well as well. And you can carry yourself through your pain for sure, but please ask for help, and also get professional help. Get coaching, get therapy, get whatever you need, because it's so it's the best thing you can do for yourself. It's the best thing to invest your time, energy, and money into therapy, counseling, training, even to get the tools to get you out of the place where you're at now, and change your behavior and change your belief systems, and heal your trauma. Okay, I wish you all the best of luck and much love and light and strength. And I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.